Well, it appears President Trump has once again poked the hornet's nest. And the Democrat governors and mayors are not happy with him. So we're going to talk about the memo that he put out and a few other things like an update on Austin Steinbart. So stick with me, folks, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I just want to remind you, Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to have a video out, and it's going to be set as a premiere, so I'll be in the chat that'll be going on there. It'll be a live chat. Sorry, I can't do the live streams yet, but I am working on things, so you'll have to keep watching for maybe news on that front. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about some things that have been going on. First of all, Dan Scavino posted these pictures from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I think it's really ironic because, the governor said, we don't want Trump there. The people don't want Trump to come. No. The people don't want Trump there. Yeah, right. The people don't want Trump there. Look at this. These people look like they sure did want him. Oh, look, Trump sign, Trump flag. Yeah, that looks like a bunch of people, and it goes on and on and on all the way down here. So I kind of think it looks to me like those people really wanted President Trump to be there. And probably that's why the governor said, oh, no, we don't want President Trump, because they knew this was going to be the reaction. I'll tell you, people are getting fed up. They're just getting fed up with everything. And I'm not even going to talk about Nancy Pelosi because you've already seen that. I don't need to rehash it. But yeah, she was caught red-handed. Probably she made those people open up. I mean, she forced them to open up just to do her hair. Because they weren't open. They can't open. So somehow, why would she be able to get them to let her in? Yeah, probably a little bit of a, force going on there, I would say. But anyway, so lots of things going on. I told you I've got a little update on Austin Steinbart. Evidently, he got arrested again. I don't know what it's for because this was posted by Jordan Sather, and he has on here September 20th arrest, but that's all it says. There's no documentation or anything to go with it. And it does say that it was last updated September 2nd. Now, I went there, and court listeners, sometimes I don't really have a lot of luck with navigating it extremely well. And so I found this, and it does say it was last updated on September 2nd, but when I go down here, it doesn't have those documents, the same thing. But that could be maybe because he has an account with Pacer or something, and I don't. So I don't know. Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you about that. Could be just a violation of, the release conditions that he's supposed to be under. I don't know what it is, but I'll kind of keep track of it and see if I can find more data on that later on, and then I'll let you know. Anyway, this first came out on September 1st. This is from the press secretary, and this is a statement that says, by publishing a plan that recommends potentially removing the Washington Monument, Christopher Columbus statue, Andrew Jackson statue, and Jefferson Memorial, among many other ludicrous recommendations, the radically liberal mayor of Washington, D.C. is repeating the same left-wing narrative used to incite dangerous riots, demolishing our history and destroying our great heritage. Our nation's capital is rightly filled with countless markers, memorials, and statues to honor and respect the men and women who built this country. President Donald J. Trump believes these places should be preserved, not torn down, respected, not hated, and passed on for generations to come. As long as President Trump is in the White House, the mayor's irresponsible recommendations will go absolutely nowhere. And as the mayor of our nation's capital city, a city that belongs to the American people, she ought to be ashamed for even suggesting them for consideration. So I wanted to make sure you heard that because I think it is well said there. And very important for us to remember what's really going on. And speaking of mayors, well, here's Mayor Ted Wheeler, okay? Once again, this guy's out there whining on Twitter, and he says everyone deserves to feel safe in their community. Well, yeah, duh. Why don't you do something, Ted? This is what we're all supposed to be fighting for. Oh, no, you're not, Ted. No, no, no. But last night saw more senseless violence in Portland. The reason you need the National Guard. Hello? Another minority-owned local business was destroyed by a violent group of individuals. Yeah, that you're letting do that. Let the police do their job instead of holding them back. So that kind of got me. I was a little ticked on that because I'm just tired of this, and I think you all are too. This is what these mayors are doing, and it's hard for me to understand. Fortunately, I live in a Republican area, and I look around and I see all these Trump signs and flags and things. I really do not see any Biden ones. I saw a Biden one once up in South Bend, an area that I was in, and it's not there anymore on their lawn. So maybe they had a change of heart. I don't know. But I just think that we need to really hold these people accountable. And unfortunately, they're in Democrat cities, which means that the majority of people voted them in. But that should fuel them to hold these people to account for what they're doing. I mean, you voted them in. You have the power to get rid of them. And you have the power to change that so that you don't have to live in fear. So I really do think it's something that has to be addressed, and President Trump did, because guess what? Yeah, he's ordered a review to defund New York City and other anarchist cities. Yep, that's what he did, and that's what this is the memorandum for. And what he's done is he has tasked Barr and who else? The director of the Office of Management and Budget. And they are to get together and go through these different cities. And any city that is allowing this violence to continue is not going to get federal dollars. And, they're not happy about that. But I just want to read a little bit of this to you. It is the policy and purpose of the United States government to protect the lives and property of all people in the United States from unlawful acts of violence and destruction. Without law and order, democracy cannot function. Americans cannot exercise their rights, including their rights to peaceful expression, assembly, and protest. Property is destroyed and innocent citizens are injured or killed. Unfortunately, anarchy has recently beset some of our states and cities. For the past few months, several state and local governments have contributed to the violence and destruction in their jurisdictions by failing to enforce the law, disempowering and significantly defunding their police departments, and refusing to accept offers of federal law enforcement assistance. As a result of these state and local government policies, persistent and outrageous acts of violence and destruction have continued unabated in many of America's cities, such as Portland, Seattle, and New York. For example, for more than 3 weeks, beginning on June 9, 2020, the city of Seattle allowed anarchists and rioters to take over 6 square blocks of the city, an area the unlawful occupiers renamed the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone and then the Capitol Hill Occupied Protest. Notwithstanding the fact that law-abiding citizens live and work in the invaded area, the local government effectively endorsed this lawlessness and taking of property by, among other things, abandoning the Seattle Police Department's East Precinct building and forbidding the police force from intervening to restore order. Tragically, the mayor allowed the unlawful occupation to persist until 2 teenagers were killed and at least 2 other persons suffered gunshot wounds. On July 1st, Seattle declared the protest zone dismantled, but such failed leadership continues to harm the people of Seattle as, in recent weeks, rioters have engaged in violence and destruction of property across Seattle, resulting in at least 59 police officers being injured and multiple businesses and vehicles vandalized. In Portland, for over 80 days, state and local officials have allowed violent anarchists to unlawfully riot and engage in criminal activity on the streets, including the destruction of property. These rioters have repeatedly tried to destroy property in the city, including the federal courthouse. They have attacked federal law enforcement personnel protecting the federal courthouse with Molotov cocktails, mortar-style fireworks, hard projectiles, and lasers that can cause permanent blindness. Over several days in July, the rioters set fires in and around the federal courthouse. To date, at least 140 federal officers have been injured in Portland. For much of this period, state and local officials in Portland have taken insufficient steps to protect the federal courthouse and initially rejected offers of federal law enforcement assistance. Likewise, in New York City, city officials have allowed violence to spike. In late May and early June, state and local officials allowed looting to take place for over a week, resulting damage to an estimated 450 businesses. As of August 16th, there have been 896 shootings in New York this year, compared to 492 shootings during the same period last year. The shooting victims include children as young as 1 year old. Shootings have been rising in recent weeks, and police reported 244 shootings last month compared to 88 in July 2019, a 177% increase. While violence has surged, arrests have plummeted. In a 28-day period during the months of June and July, arrests were down 62% from the same period in 2019. Amidst the rising violence, Mayor Bill de Blasio and the New York City Council agreed to cut $1 billion from the New York Police Department budget, including by canceling the hiring of 1,163 officers. In June, Police Commissioner Dermot Shea disbanded the New York Police Department's plainclothes anti-crime units, which target illegal guns and violent crime. Police officials have cited this decision as a factor contributing to the rise in violence. In light of this unconscionable rise in violence, I have offered to provide federal law enforcement assistance, but both Mayor de Blasio and Governor Andrew Cuomo have rejected my offer. These are not the only cities that recently have decided to pursue reckless policies that allow crime and lawlessness to multiply. For example, Washington, D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser allowed rioters and anarchists to engage in violence and destruction in late May and early June, requiring me to call in the National Guard to maintain law and order in the nation's capital. The federal government provides states and localities with hundreds of billions of dollars every year, which fund a wide array of programs, such as housing, public transportation, job training, and social services. These funds have been collected from American taxpayers who entrusted their money to the federal government to serve our communities and our citizens. My administration will not allow federal tax dollars to fund cities that allow themselves to deteriorate into lawless zones. To ensure that federal funds are neither unduly wasted nor spent in a manner that directly violates our government's promise to protect life, liberty, and property, it is imperative that the federal government review the use of federal funds by jurisdictions that permit anarchy, violence, and destruction in America's cities. It is also crucial to ensure that federal grants are used effectively to safeguard taxpayer dollars entrusted to the federal government for the benefit of the American people. So that's where he sets this up. It is going to be something where they're going to have to examine it and see which ones are just not falling into line, that are allowing this kind of violence to continue. And so it could be interesting. But of course, after that, came out, then, hoo-hoo, boy, Ted Wheeler's back at it again. Trump threatens to withdraw federal funds, possibly including health, education, and safety net dollars. Americans need to get through the pandemic and economic crisis. See what he does there? He turns it around. He picks out the things that he knows people are very concerned about, but he's blaming Trump for it. It's not Trump. The problem is he's not keeping his city safe. And I hope that the people who live there, their eyes are opened to what he's doing, because it's so obvious that he is using them as political pawns in this game. It's ridiculous. Again, he targets cities, including ours, with Democratic mayors, which he calls anarchist jurisdictions. Well, they are. They are. So he wasn't the only one who was upset. Of course, Cuomo is not real happy, but look what Cuomo says. He says Trump better have an army to protect him if he comes to New York City. Does that sound like a threat to you? It does to me. So, yeah, that's what he's saying, that if President Trump comes, then he better have an army if he thinks he's going to walk down the street in New York. New Yorkers don't want to have anything to do with him, the Democrat said, all but threatening the commander-in-chief. I think that was a threat. And, it's crazy. He can't have enough bodyguards to walk through New York City. People don't want to have anything to do with him. Yeah, just like back here. Yeah, people don't want to have anything to do with him. Right. You know what? The longer this goes on, the more people are really going to be addressing it, and they're going to be rebelling against it because it's ridiculous. Oh, look, Wayfair takes up to 70% off everything for Labor Day sale. Oh, I'm sorry. That's an aside, isn't it? Oh, I just had to point that out. I just saw that. Well, anyway, I know that a lot of you follow Mr. 17, and well, he had some really big posts today. Oh, we need to make memes out of all those. But yeah, evidently there is a database. I found this, a Legislator misconduct database. But don't get too excited here, folks, because they aren't necessarily all guilty. Okay? There are a lot of allegations that go in, and it says the allegations of misconduct listed on this page do not imply guilt. So you don't know if they're guilty or innocent. But anyway, I want you to pay attention on this chart right here, because this is the types of misconduct and alleged misconduct over time. Look at the red, because the red is the sexual harassment and abuse. Look at it. It's a whole lot bigger. The green here is ethics violation, which my biggest concern is that I think the ethics committee in the House is being used as a weapon against people they don't like. So whoever is in the majority, and right now it's the Democrats, of course, they tend to do this a little bit more than the Republicans, but they tend to focus on Republicans and try to accuse them of everything under the sun, but never an ethics violation accusation against them. Well, there are a few, but those people just somehow, well, they didn't really mean what they did, so they got off. Well, we'll see in just a minute. But I just thought, here's the consequences. And you can see here that most of them, the gray is they pleaded in court. The red is a resignation. There was a big bunch of resignations here. And that was in 2010. So they don't really have, this is not very accurate because it goes by every 10 years. So 2010 had a big decade where there was a lot of stuff. But 2020, all they have down here is the reprimand. I don't know if they just don't have the other data or what the case is. But anyway, then they go through and they tell who the person was. They tell what the situation was and if it was resolved or not, or how it was resolved. And for those who were commenting on the last video, yeah, I don't know why I just spaced it, okay? The whole thing about the 3 guaranteed people and the insider trading, I don't know why I didn't think that, but I'm kind of thinking this Kelly Loeffler, she'll be one. I think probably, let's see, Bishop here was another one, and Burr. And then there was somebody else. So it was, but whoever, was it Diane Feinstein? Or, I've slept since then, so I don't remember. I know. Hey, I blame it on the chronic fatigue syndrome. It does make my brain a little mushy, and right now it is kind of in that area. But anyway, so they pretty much got off so far, but it could very well be that those are the 3 and that they're possibly going to be indicted. So that would be nice. Of course, it mentions Tlaib down here, but what happened? Well, they put out a report just saying, oh, she didn't really mean to do that. She was accused of reporting improper campaign expenditures, but she didn't mean it on purpose. It was just an error and not malfeasance. She's fined $10,800, the amount she received after the election. So she kind of got off. But there's a lot of Republicans here, but of course, that's because the Ethics Committee is predominantly Democrat right now. So, yeah, there seem to be a lot. Alcee Hastings, I did one on him, a video on him a long time ago. And, he was in 2019, Hastings was alleged to have engaged in improper relationship with a staff member and received improper gifts and or forbearance from the staff member. Get this, the House Committee on Ethics began an investigation. In 2020, the House Committee on Ethics closed the investigation since the employee was his spouse. Does this mean the guy married this woman just to shut her up? Because gifts from family are acceptable and their employment did not violate any house rules when they were hired. So, just kind of wondered, I don't know, I'd like to look into that more. But, and then down here somewhere, they've got, it's interesting reading through these, and there's several of them that are engaged in a sexual relationship with a staff member, converted campaign funds to personal use, and of course Katie Hill, nude photos of her, and just very interesting. They did go after Matt Gaetz because he posted a threatening tweet aimed at Michael Cohen. Yeah, well, it was not, but they claimed it was, and that's what they were doing. And they got a big thing here on Gaetz. You can read through it. And down here somewhere they got Devin Nunes. But see all the Republicans? You can't tell me. Here's another Democrat, Jayapal. Look at this. On June 28th, Representative Jayapal was arrested for crowding, obstructing, or incommoding during a protest inside a Senate office building in Washington, D.C. This was in 2018, by the way. And it said the House Committee on Ethics concluded that no further investigation was needed since she had paid a $50 fine and charges were dropped. Okay, if the charges were dropped, why would there be a $50 fine? You don't pay fines if charges are dropped, do you? Because if you pay $50 to get the charges dropped, isn't that kind of like a bribery thing? I don't know, but they do have, they've got a lot of people, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them are Republicans. And like I said, Nunes, and it's still unresolved on that. They're just that. They're using the Ethics Committee, in my opinion, they're using it to attack people. And I'm not saying that these people aren't guilty of things. There are some on here that definitely are. But I just thought this was an interesting database I would bring to your attention. So you can peruse it at your leisure. Anyway, for the shout out on this one, I want to point out Movie Maker Wannabe says Harshman Hills gives short videos with clips on news that others may not cover, prepping and patriotism with encouragements. And I will link to his channel. Here's the channel. These are some of the videos that he has out here. He has 1.74K subscribers, so that would be a good one to follow. And looks like he's got some interesting clips here too. And remember, you can always go to somebody's about page here, and it will tell you more about that particular channel. So here's this one, and it tells you, how long they've been on here. That doesn't necessarily mean how long they've been doing videos, though. Because if you look at Truthification Chronicles, I actually reserved the name like a long time before I started posting videos, just because I wasn't quite ready to start the videos and everything then. But I suggest that you go there. You can subscribe, and after you click the subscribe, then you got to click here and click all, or you won't be getting any of the notifications, because that's just how YouTube's working right now. So check out his channel, see if it's something that you would like, and if so, subscribe, support the Patriot, and remember, a rising tide lifts all boats. So if we can get all of us going up, then it helps. It really does. So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.